You know, I'm not even going to start this video with some funny or quirky little intro. I'm just going to start it with one simple question. Why? Why do things have to be this way? Hey everyone, it's Nux, and welcome to yet another video on Sonic Frontiers. But this time we're back to script, so that I can make my updated thoughts and grievances with the game thus far 100% clear, because I already know my comments will be filled with the usual BS and defenses, and someone will try to scramble my words and boil them down to me being a mindless hater. And man, I just do not have the energy for this back and forth with people who are clearly more optimistic for the game and Sonic currently than me right now. If you're excited for Frontiers, be my guest, dudes. But either you're here to hear my honest and raw thoughts on this game in full, or you're not. So while I welcome legitimate discussion around my points and counters to them, I'd be lying if I didn't say that debating with Sonic fans all the time is exhausting. Anyway, with that little rant vented out, let's get into the actual infuriating stuff. So obviously, the last time I talked about Sonic Frontiers was not a fun time, as I was very upset at the state of the game and the defenses made in favor of it. Now normally after I do an unscripted, angry video like that, I go blow some steam off and look back on it with a more objective outlook, to see if my thoughts were a bit exaggerated or not. Because as much as it seems like I enjoy beating down on the current direction of Sonic, I don't. And I don't want to catch myself throwing blind anger towards a game or product without there being some legitimate reason. But the more I've thought about how this cycle of news with Sonic Frontiers has gone, the more I truly do see my frustration as justified. As this whole cycle with Frontiers has been ridiculous since the very start. Don't believe me? Let me review over the Sonic Frontiers news cycle from my lens and break down why it is absolutely not how you should hype up a game. So I think the biggest problem with Sonic Frontiers in its opening few moments of news alone was how confusing it was to get an understanding of what the game even officially was. They spent the longest time not showing gameplay for months on end, with the first reveal we got being a vague CGI teaser of Sonic running in a forest, and that was basically all we had. The only other information we had to go on for months on end were rumors, with a lot of them ending up true, but also some false and outdated information mixed in there as well. So it only added to the confusion of what this game was. So after letting that pot stir in the dry months, they finally decided to show a full reveal at the Game Awards, but still with no gameplay, with what we did see not even answering any more of the questions we had, other than learning it was clearly open world inspired. So because of all this lack of information, folks were left to look to something else that was much less vague, being the Sonic movie sequel news, leading to people getting more hyped over that and seeing the movies as more of the main news than the game series. Because relying on movies you didn't make over your main brand is totally genius, right? Ugh. So after a few more months of tomfoolery, we finally get our first look at this game's gameplay, but it is through that random, horrible looking IGN gameplay, which mind you, was not actually IGN even playing, as a rep from there did confirm it was just gameplay sent to them by Sega. Now maybe IGN lied and it did come from them playing like noobs and not Sega, but regardless, having your big gameplay reveal be through random gameplay out of nowhere that shows nothing exciting is beyond stupid. It'd be like if instead of the amazing first trailers we got for Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, which, by the way, featured a clear idea of those games and their gameplay. We just got random snippets of their gameplay through GameSpot, and it was just Mario and Link walking around the worlds with no context. You see how dumb that sounds? But then even after that, the cycle was just ridiculous, because the Sonic Central following the gameplay barely revealed anything of value either, other than confirmation for an animation that, while is related to the game, doesn't actually tell us anything more about the game experience itself. From this game's reveal to current day almost, it was just non-stop BS. And when your last game had a weak performance and quality like Sonic Forces did, then maybe you start to see just a little bit why I might be angry. Especially since we got confirmation that this game has indeed been in development since freaking 2017. So there are no excuses. But now that brings us to the current period with Sonic Frontiers news, where since we're presumably getting closer to release, they have no choice but to be a little more transparent. So we're learning a bit more about the game through various small interviews, news articles, and etc. Bringing us into the main question of this video. Is Sonic Frontiers looking better? And my answer is a bit complicated. In some ways, I'll say that the game sounds more appealing than it did before, but in terms of my personal expectations, this game has not changed much, and in some ways, of course, things sound even worse, and you can probably guess why. So let's break down some of the recent news stories with Sonic Frontiers and what my thoughts on them are. First, let's talk about Sega and Sonic Team's mindset when generally describing this game. And while there's a little confidence in information that somewhat is fine to me, in other areas, these dudes sound clueless. They're so adamant on this open zone formula being so different from open world, but I just don't see this originality that they're so fixated on. With Breath of the Wild, while terms like open air were also a bit eye-rolling to me, I can somewhat understand what the Zelda team had in mind, as Link's paragliding in that game truly changed how traversal in that open world was. With Sonic Frontiers, I have yet to see this big gimmick or gameplay element that makes open zones so unique and special. They claim that the emptiness of the open world, for example, is due to Sonic's speed, and that when you play the game for yourself, the game feels a lot more well-paced, as Sonic can clear through the emptiness easily and can find fun challenges and obstacles in no time. Which makes sense, but doesn't change the fact that it's still just Sonic in the open world formula. Sonic being fast in the environment doesn't make the previously known conventions of open world any more different feeling. But all of that is whatever, because even though this fixation of open zone is stupid to me, as long as the game is good, who really cares? But it wouldn't be modern Sonic interviews if they didn't find some way to really piss me off. And of course, we have more of that classic Sonic adventure baiting, with Iizuka making the claim that he wants to revisit the adventure formula someday, and if he gets the chance to make SA free, he'll even consider using Frontiers as a template. Which, you can probably guess how that made me feel. Actually no, let me tell you. Iizuka, for the love of our blue savior, if you plan to revisit the adventure formula, be it through remakes or adventure free, please make sure to actually understand what Sonic Adventure fans would want to see in those, and not just what you or these tone-deaf critics would like to see. I really do not want adventure games that do not understand the originals and are filled with lame jokes, no respect to Sonic's cast and playable roles or their characterization, bad gameplay, and etc. Like, I've made countless videos on this, but I truly would rather have the adventure games never be revisited than for them to do it and screw them up with their cockiness. Because oh man, is that cockiness through the roof, with them telling us things like how we only criticize Frontiers because, quote, we don't understand the new formula. Man, shut your dumb, incompetent asses up. Maybe if you made a good game, we'd stop complaining. Did you guys ever think about that? Freaking God, sorry, it is so hard to talk about this company without being angered like this. So, let's move on. In terms of some good news, we learned things like this game being pretty lengthy according to Sonic Team. They apparently really got a sense of folks being unsatisfied with how bite-sized the levels in Sonic Forces were. So this game is aiming to be longer, which I guess is neat. Thing is, that won't matter much if the level design isn't any better. See, this is the problem with Sonic Team. Sometimes they do take in key criticism, but they only half listen to it. Or they fully solve a problem, only for it to be negated by the fact that, the game is still not good overall. Like, even if Forces had longer levels, that doesn't fix the trash level design, trash physics and control, trash story, and etc. You have to commit to listening to all your feedback in order to truly better yourself. And Sonic Team has always been selective with what they fix, which is made worse by how they tend to just tackle surface level issues from mainstream critics and not the actual fans. But Nux, what are you talking about? Sonic Team is showing they are listening with all sorts of things, like the combat being more in-depth, the enemies being a little more interesting, and other things. You're just being dramatic. See, I was almost ready to agree with some of you on that. As weak and lifeless that first gameplay demo of Frontiers by IGN was, some of the new things that we saw with the game did look a little more promising, and I was ready to maybe accept that Sonic Team is turning a new leaf, just a little bit. That was until... Come on, y'all. What do I even say? What new thing do I even say? Why am I sitting here in 2022 complaining about Green Hill Zone being reused? Why do I need to break down and explain why Green Hill Zone is tiring after it appearing non-stop in so many goddamn mainline Sonic games throughout the last few years? Like, I shouldn't even need to say shit on this, but apparently I do, because some of you Sonic worshippers still defend this. Now, I won't linger on Green Hill Zone itself for too long, as that could be its own video at this point, and I basically already have that rant written, literally. But I think the icing is truly how adamant Sega is on specifically using the exact same versions of these levels. It showcases they literally cannot make new levels because they are either very creatively bankrupt, lacking in resources for this game, or something. There has to be an explanation for why we're playing through the Generations version of Sky Sanctuary again, but tweaked slightly so we don't notice. There's nothing wrong with old locations and levels returning. I cannot stress that enough, because with some other series, I literally beg for some cool old levels and locations to come back. But the reason why it pisses me off with Sonic is because it's the same damn locations brought back with such a lack of inspiration behind them. Yes, Sky Sanctuary is back, but is it because we are returning to that area physically for some interesting story reason? No. Is there some major change to that area that warrants revisiting? No. Is the area some highly requested level that everyone wants to see? No. We only go back to these places because it's clear that they're some of the only locations Sega can conjure up for settings to support the game, and fans only put up with it because many don't have the spine to demand better, or somehow have accepted it's a lost cause to get any better. And it's infuriating. You can point to other series bringing back old places all you like, but they handle this sort of thing so much better, and I will die on that hill. Shit, even the story excuse this time has no creative inspiration. Oh no, Sonic lost his memory, like how Link lost his memory in Breath of the Wild, and how Shadow the Hedgehog lost his memory. So he has to enter cyberspace and run through these conveniently specific overused locations of Sonic's 30-year history to get his memory back. Fucking please. I will say though, that one new city stage looks okay, I guess. But we'll see if we get more of that creativity, or we'll be spending a good amount of time in Green Hill Zone Sonic Forces style. Because I don't take Sega's word to believe that isn't the case. Well, at least things can't get any worse from here, right? Surely reused stages is the lowest Sega will go from not listening to what actual 3D Sonic fans would want, right? Right? Oh. No Chao Garden. Okay, that's fine. I'm not the biggest Chao Garden fan anyway. And yeah, Sega continues to be full of themselves and not listen to requests with their 5 years of development time. But it can't go down from here, right? 2D sections. 2D sections in this 3D open world Sonic game. Okay. Maybe it won't be much 2D, right? Maybe. I'm so tired. I'm so tired, guys. I'm so tired of thinking of how a Sonic game could maybe not trend on the same stupid mistakes. I'm so tired of thinking about how a Sonic game could have handled its reveals better. I'm so fucking tired of thinking about how we could have a Sonic cycle where we don't get dumbass interviews, long dry months of no news, and all only to learn Sega is gonna make us play the same stages again, and have us play 2D sections mostly in the fucking 3D Sonic game. I'm beyond exhausted with Sega, and I'm gonna be honest, part of the reason why I even took so long to make this video is because of how unmotivated I feel to play this game. It's done nothing to make me, as a 3D Sonic fan and general Sonic fan, excited personally. And I can't sit here and pretend to feel otherwise. Guys, I'm trying. I'm really trying to give this game a chance. But I can't keep doing this to myself. Why waste my time voicing thoughts to people who don't want to hear what you have to say? I mean, I suppose I could be thankful there's no Wisp, or no Classic Sonic, or no Deadly Six. But the more I sit here and linger on looking on the upsides, only to be disappointed with more BS shortly after, the more exhausted I get. While in some ways it could be a refreshing Sonic experience that puts a bit of a spark back into my love for Sonic, I'm just disappointed with how much this series feels like such a shell of itself sometimes. And that's all I'll say until I can play Sonic Frontiers in full and judge it myself. I'm not interested in following this game's news and working myself up anymore, because I basically just want to get it over with and see where the bar is at this point. That, and with how many other issues I have to deal with in life, getting mad over a fictional blue hedgehog isn't healthy. And that is my piece for today. If you've made it to this point of the video, thank you for watching all the way until the end. What do you think about Sonic Frontiers right now? Is the game looking to meet your personal expectations? Are you excited to play Green Hill Zone again? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new to it, and follow my additional social media such as my Twitter and my Twitch for more content and updates. This has been Nux, and I'm out. Peace.